Good morning, everyone. Yep, it wasn't clickbait. I've got an eye infection. So no one can accuse me of clickbait with my thumbnail this time. I'm sure everyone who just drops in will ask me, oh my OMG, what happened with human's eye? So anyway, I'm fine. It's an eye infection I've had. I think it started midweek. I'm taking antibiotics, but there you go. If I have to suffer, so do you. And it's a good lesson about not being too precious and not caring about what other people think. In fact, that was a kind of a big reason I wanted to start my streams, was to get over what I knew to be an irrational fear, like to speak better. Why do you have to have everything prepared? Why does everything have to be written perfectly for you to speak it to people in videos as a script? Why can't you just chat about it like a human being? So, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking me. Also, let me know if you can hear me and see me properly. And if the microphone is peaking, if it's too loud, if it's too soft, I'm using a different microphone again. For you tech nerds, I'm using the dynamic microphone today, the Lewitt 250DM, just to change things up a little bit. So, mainly talking about the really interesting topic about being direct. And it was really illuminating the discussion I had with the guys, Spetsnaz, Boffin, Karu, and Rocket the other day. There's more to come from that conversation, but the initial part of the conversation was really interesting. I've got to stop saying, hang on, let me darken this. Especially about how having to be direct, and you have to actually say what you mean to be able to communicate like a second language. When you go to a foreign country, if you're not just very specific, basic, and direct, you won't be able to find the train station. You won't be able to buy food. So you can't play games. There's no this means that and yes means no and I'm not sure. The survival instinct is, no, I have to be direct to survive. But when you've got all these multi-layers of avoidance and language and gaslighting and stuff, yeah, there's something very refreshing. And if you go take a listen to the conversation, listen to this conversation on my chat channel that I had with the guys, and it really became apparent to me why, as Rocket said, and I'm pretty sure the statistic is accurate, that more relationships and marriages with foreign people tend to last longer. And I think there may be something, I think, in fact, I'm sure there's something to do with being direct with communication initially, because you have to, there's nothing else. If someone's got broken English and they have academically learnt the language that up is up, down is down, they haven't learned the idiomatic language. They don't know nuance and metaphors that much, or they do on a basic level, but they're very, very direct. It's a very honest type of communication. And as such, you get a better sense of who the person is, because up is up and down is down, you know? And so I thought that was really, really interesting. Now, I'm not suggesting that people need to go and find overseas brides or husbands. But what I'm saying is that's a very interesting thing to think about in terms of communication, how we're very clever. We lie to ourselves through gaslighting ourselves. We lie to other people. We play games. We're not direct with ourselves. There's like confirmation bias and all that kind of stuff with our own minds. And it's just something refreshing about talking to someone where English is their second language. They've been academically taught what something is, and they talk directly and honestly about things in terms of the terms and what they mean. So I thought that was actually really interesting. Now, should you go out and find a foreigner? I'm not saying you need to, but if you do, or you travel and you're so inclined and you meet foreign people, chances for you are better. So, yeah, and directness, I mean, it ties into, I've always talked about being yourself, right? Everyone thinks it's glib and cliche, but it's such an obvious truth that people roll their eyes and say, well, it's so stupid because every man and his dog knows it, that there's no point talking about something so obvious. It's like saying the sky is blue. Yeah, but how many people actually walk the talk of being themselves? We don't. We look for more sophisticated answers before we've gotten the foundations. Right. Anyway, if you want to ask me any questions, people, if you're on the stream live here, make sure that you put 3 yellow emojis before your question, 3 avatars, just so I know in the stream it's a question and not just you guys talking amongst yourselves. Hopefully some of the gay guys that flirt with me during the streams can be grossed out this time and flirt a little less. Anyway, so the question I asked in my comments tab, and I often do this before stream, so check my community tab, not the comments tab, my community tab on my YouTube channel. Check the community tab and I'll always post polls, questions that I want to ask you, and I'll get feedback, and that informs maybe the video I'm working on, new topics, great discussion, things like that, as well as the comments under videos and streams. But I asked the question related to this stream and off the back of my discussion with the guys about why dating someone foreign might be easier because they are more direct. I asked the question, when should you be honest and direct with your date? And the answers, predictably, I'm assuming if people like my channel, they're more in line with me. But again, everyone's slightly different or vastly different. I agree right from the beginning. But I also understand a little bit of the later when you want to be serious part. But I would also ask, because I know that there's a lot of people that they don't want to be confronted. Like if someone's super serious on the first date, you don't want to be confronted like you're being interrogated. It's like I went out on a date wanting to have fun, wanting to chat and laugh with somebody and joke around and just let go. And you're here interrogating me like a job interview. It's no fun. I get that. That's why I always tell people to just get comfortable being you, be able to talk and articulate everything. Don't memorize lines like you were when you're confronted on a job interview. Just go there relaxed, looking to have a conversation. In fact, I've mentioned this in a few anecdotes in the past. The point at which I started to get more jobs and have a better time in the job world was when I insisted on taking the approach that when I went to job interviews, I was going there to have a fun conversation with the interviewers as friends, as potential colleagues. And I did that on dates. So it was one of those attitudes that I used for every social interaction with strangers. I went there, if I'm going to go on a job interview, they like my resume. I've gotten the interview, so they want to find out my personality and get me to answer a few questions just to know what I'm like. So they already like the mechanical stuff, you know, the resume, my qualifications. They want to interview me. They want to see the person. They want to see if I fit with them. And I go there as well. I want to meet the people. I want to see if I will fit with them. Are they people I want to relate to and socialize with every day? Do I feel comfortable in their team, in their... I bet you this is marketing. Apologies, everyone. I'll put on silent. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so I imbued that one idiom that I would go to interviews, I would go on dates to meet a potential friend. I was going there to meet the person. I was going there to have a good conversation. Low level, fun, no pressure, right? And it worked out really well. That's when I really didn't have much anxiety. I didn't have anxiety. I had mild excitement, mild kind of, looking forward to this. This will be fun. Without any pressure, none of this, I hope she's the one. I hope I get the job. None of that. So there's a degree of that. So I understand that you want to have fun, but I tell people to let go, be themselves, and learn to articulate who you are and not fear anything, because you have a right to have your opinion. You have a right to have your sense of humor. If you've offended someone that you don't know, you go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that was a sensitive topic for you. But the only way to sort of know is to try and test. Again, look at an older recorded chat I had with Quasimandias, titled, in fact, The Only Way to Know Is to Try, is to have the courage just to be yourself politely, civilly, learn to articulate yourself better so that you don't have any trepidations about being the polite, well-articulated you, and objectively you're not rude. If the person is overly sensitive, if the person is taking you the wrong way, especially when you can articulate yourself correctly and clearly, and you can, then objectively it's not your problem, it's theirs. And also that I'm probably not going to be compatible with them because they infer a lot of meaning. They're not direct communication. They're not direct communicators, but more importantly, they're not clear and logical communicators. So it's going to be very hard to get off the starting block with this person. Sometimes you can meet someone and you automatically click, but that's a rarity. We're looking for the romantic solution. But the best way sometimes to uncover those walls initially that we have when we meet someone is our attitude going into it. And also, if we can articulate ourselves and speak the English language and process this out through our mouths a lot clearer, then we'll be able to have a better chance. The reason I'm not, I will kind of agree 10% with be serious later, because I do think you should go into dates and meeting new people in a lighthearted way without them being defensive, because you don't know the defensiveness of somebody compared to you. I don't go into new meetings with people or dates or whatever defensively, but they don't know. Other people do. We don't know their past. We don't know what things they've been through. Similarly with you. But we have to be realistic about how we come across to people that don't know us and how people come across to us that don't know us. The best way is to learn to verbalize yourself better, fairly, and with velvet gloves initially, because you don't know the person. They don't know your humor and all that kind of stuff. And then once you break the ice, that initial bit, then you can sort of go underneath the layer. Because there was one comment, I wanted to highlight it, just because it's an important one. He said, when should you be honest? When I asked, when should you be honest? He said, at the point where you decide you want a second date. Now, I would ask you, if you've been holding back important subjects like the topic of children came up, or you could tell you weren't sure if they were crazy about children, if they wanted children or not, but you avoided it on the first date or the first few dates until you just liked them enough to start getting serious. If you weren't direct and honest when those things popped up during the conversation earlier, what do you have a basis to go serious on? That's what I would ask you. That's why, this 10%, be serious later when you want to be exclusive, be honest later, I don't think is the best strategy. As difficult as it is, I think you should be honest and direct right from the start, but with the caveat of being lighthearted and fun. I can joke and convey to the person that I don't want kids by joking about it. Like, kids, if the topic comes up, kids, they drive me nuts. No, man, I would never want, drown me rather than having kids. So you can say it in a lighthearted way. And if you see them freeze up and go, you can tell they're not sharing your joke, that is where you've got to be direct and go, why do you want kids? Do you avoid it at that point? That's why I say if you're too lighthearted and you avoid topics as they come up, what have you got the basis on deciding to get serious with this person? That's the important one. So I would agree, you go there wanting to have fun and be lighthearted. And the best solution I've come up with to accommodate these two strategies at the top, which I think are the best. The last two, I really didn't think much of, but I put them there for different types of people. 4% of people said you should never be direct with on your dates, or if you're dating somebody. And mystery is good in a relationship, which I think it's complete. Surprises are good, but not when you're intentionally avoiding things. If you're not intentionally avoiding anything, yeah, mystery, surprises, whatever. You're not being dishonest. You're not holding anything back. You're not avoiding anything. That's fine. They'll just come as a natural consequence. But if you're curating the mystery by not knowing, if you're walking on romantic eggshells because you think that's normal as an excuse to avoid subjects, then that's on you. Sorry. The best strategy I've come up with to balance the going on a date, wanting to have fun, but also being you, and if you notice a red flag, you talk about it, is this. Your intent is always to go out, have fun, be you, right? You're going out to meet a friend, as I said. You're going out to meet the personality. No expectations like, could she be the one? And even when you see her, oh my God, she's hot. Doesn't matter. Let's have a laugh, because I'd rather know if this hot thing or this attractive thing is actually real, or if I'm trying to make her real by denying speaking about red flags. So you go there with the intent of having fun, be you, and they're nothing more than a friend you want to have, potentially, if you get along, if you're compatible. And two, through the chit-chat, no topics are off limits, because that's where you reveal compatibility and incompatibility. So one, your intent going out there is you don't care, you're going to meet friends and people. That is it. They mean no more than a potential friend, no matter how much you want them. They don't deserve anything more, frankly, other than the respect of a stranger and being a potential friend and having a good time with conversation. And two, you do not avoid anything. So as far as I can see, that's the best strategy. You go out there wanting to meet a friend, wanting to have fun conversations about everything and anything. Every conversation is interesting, especially if it's not cookie cutter. What's boring to me and avoidant is when, or frankly just incompatible, is when they just talk about the banal stuff like chit chat and what's on the news, like talking about everything out around your life and other people's lives in the world and traveling and stuff. It's interesting as an initial point, but I'm on a date to get under the skin and know what it would be like being with this person and around them. Similarly, when you go on a job interview, I want to be lighthearted and joke and get to the personality of these people and what they really want and what the environment is like, what it would be like working with them. You know, what is this relationship going to be like? And you can only get that through revelatory conversation by being direct and honest. And you shouldn't be afraid of any topic if you can articulate yourself well. A lot of people don't find English and speaking and, you know, communicating properly, you know, polishing your lexicon so you can communicate directly what you want. And look, you're going to be impressive to people because you can speak better, yes, but also your self-esteem will improve and your security with yourself and what you want and saying yes and no to your boundaries will improve because you can articulate yourself. If you don't find your own language important and improving your vocabulary and getting better at finding the words that clearly describe what you want, then it's going to be so much harder, if not impossible, to set boundaries, because you set boundaries by verbalizing them or avoiding them. And a lot of people can ghost you, but that's really bad communication because people don't know why you ghosted them. You didn't want to see them. You can get good feedback. So communication's becoming a lost art. And so again, going back to this discussion I had with the guys, the direct communication with foreigners where English is a second language really reveals how disarming and straight to the point you can get to see if you're compatible with someone. where you can just talk honestly and communicate better. Let me pop out the chat now. If any of you guys have a question for me, let me pop it out and I'll read some of your comments. Okay. My eye looks hideous. I look like a boxer that lost. Okay. Let's see. Pop out. There we go. All right. All right. Okay. Our first super chats first. Luciano Casanova. Cool name. Thank you for the super chat, Luciano. He says, hot take, but dating for fun sounds less worthwhile as you get older because it is nothing more than a waste of wealth and effort. Yes. Waste of time, most importantly, which is a accumulation of wealth and effort as well. When you're naive, you don't know much. You don't know what to base your time on. So it's natural that you use time to get experience and know who you are. And so through that experience later on, if you're just operating under the same youthful naivety and you believe that love is luck and relationships are luck, then you're going to just be dating like a teenager into your whatever it is, 30s, 40s, 50s, however long you decide to date. Jackdaw is not to make your eyes roll back from EvoPsych, but you can't make both my eyes roll back, only one of them today. But do you know about the mating behavior called pacing? No. Please explain. Ted1775 says, I'm back on the, I'm not allowed to say that other word beginning with BL, am I? I am back on the plantation. Yeah, I can't say those two words together, plantation and BLACK, can I? Ooh. Last month, I met an amazing woman. So far, so great. We have been on a few dates. Cool. Everyone, I just don't have time for people who talk to me religiously. Like, if I talk outside their religion, whether it's a part of the manosphere or girl power chicks or someone that like really is ideologically believing in something and there's no room for any other discussion and they shout you down and they want to shame you and they want to tell you you're wrong, no matter if you can intelligently say, well, look, you know, in Ted1775's case is, yeah, I went on a date. I asked her all these questions. I told her what was important to me. She told me what was important to her. She seemed genuine. Time and time again, the more I've talked to her, I've gotten to know her. She's never contradicted herself. Her actions, her politeness. I've approached subjects in similar ways. We talk about similar things. I can tell how she gets excited about the same things I do. And the things I get excited about are like no kids and the way I want to live. And she's really excited about that and can give me examples of her past where she lives like that and she finally has found a person. And I've, you know, just a lot of common sense stuff that kind of will make this person stand out from the herd out there that's incompatible to you. Like the chances of finding someone compatible in today's world is very hard because, you know, because of girl power, because of politics, because of censorship, because of like just it's very hard out there. There's no social norm of forcing men and women to respect each other at a very basic level, which would allow you to basically have a civil date, even if you didn't get along with each other. Now you're going on dates with no, you're not being chaperoned by society. You don't know what this person is like, and they don't know what you're like. And a lot of our fears will be so defensive that we make everyone guilty and they have to prove that they're innocent before we give them a chance. So for a long time, men have always been guilty until proven innocent. So you go on dates and women are shut off and they'll make you put all the effort in to prove that you're not a bad guy. And now men have caught up, and men also, they just want to pump and dump, and every woman is nothing to them and is a potential legal nightmare that's going to destroy his life. So every woman is also guilty until each of you has to do heavy lifting to prove you're not a bad guy. Just think of that. Like, we used to go on a date with the right attitude. They sound like fun. I vetted them a bit. Just by talking to them a bit, we're on the same ethical and moral page of what, respecting human beings. We don't hate men and women. We've got the right attitude going in. But now it's like swipe left and right. You look hot, big question mark. I don't know what this is. Ooh, let's call it exciting, walking on eggshells, sexual tension. Like, sorry, it sounds like a lot of danger. The guys that laugh at me, that when I say I've always been more calibrated towards long-term relationships, because I just find dating female strangers a waste of time. I don't find the average female that important that I'm going to waste so much time on them. But two, it's more dangerous if you just date random people over and over again, and that's what you're pursuing. Whereas they say, oh, it's safer. It's like, really, is it? You are rotating different personalities, which could be psycho, less psycho, not psycho, rather than taking your time to get to know someone before you take the next step, So I would say the long-term strategy is less risky. Yes, the laws are going to be the same for everyone, but Luciano, thank you for the super chat. He said, I rather build up generational wealth. Generational wealth on my achievements. Bobby Backpacks just says, just found the chat channel, loving the content there. Coffee on me, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Backpacks. All right. So, yeah, I think no one can argue with cliches that are generally true, like, be yourself. What's wrong with just being honest and open? Well, this will happen. Well, that'll happen. Okay, if it happens, do you really want to be with them? If you're yourself and a topic comes up when you meet somebody and it's important to you, whether it's you're on an interview for a job and they say, well, we expect you to work back and stay back and work weekends and do this, and you don't want to do that and you didn't know you had to. And you're like, yeah, that's I'm into that. Yes, of course. Yeah, I love challenges. I love work. I love giving 150%. I love working overtime without pay. Yeah, I'm really into that. And inside you're going, oh God. You're just playing the field to sort of just get them to say yes to you, and then later on you're going to decide. You don't want to work there. You don't. You're wasting your time if you convince them of a lie that you would be a good fit for them. You leave, but in your head is like, I don't want to work there, but at least they don't know that. What's the point? Warlike strategies, I think, are kind of dysfunctional when you're talking about intimate relationships or relationships and friends and work environments and stuff like that, because you're not going to die, but you are going to spend time in a lie if you lie about who you are. It's different. Okay, if you're at war, lie and do everything you have to do to survive, lie to your enemy, lie to whatever it is, like survival is at stake. Survival is not at stake. And a lot of the smart STEM-based guys will say, well, we're animals and our brains and blah, blah, blah. Well, you're stupid too, because we're civilized and you're holding a mobile phone. So you should be better than that. Your excuse of biology for everything that I say that we should, with the front brain, be better at, because we're a higher primate than the animals out there. Whenever I hear guys go, well, you're wrong, human, because of laws and because of animal and because of biology, it's like, fine, be an animal, get pregnant with random animals, have the consequence of acting like an animal, but then later don't come and talk to me with the brain of trying to be civilized and sophisticated and talk about philosophy and things like that. Be an animal or be philosophically civilized. Pick one. Stop being a lazy cherry picker and saying, when I want to bang, I'm just going to be an animal. There's nothing I can do. And, high five, fist bump. And then later on, where you can't have fun, your world is destroyed by hot messes and pretty bimbos who destroyed your lives because you didn't find your life interesting enough to protect it via thinking and speaking and boundaries. And then you want the help of the philosophical intelligence side of the manosphere and men's ears. But then once you're over it, you're back to banging chicks, driving fast cars, getting drunk, speeding fines, your third kid with 3 different women. You know what? Like, keep doing it. Keep flip-flopping until you're ready to kind of stay in one mode. I know we're not perfect, but try and think of one mode as the thing you want to be and the thing you calibrate and lean towards. Yeah, I just think a lot of people choose the roller coaster. The highs and lows are both exciting. Bobby Berra says, so looks, money, and status is our dating resume and not our personality. Yeah, according to a lot of the dating coaches, yeah. But, okay, if a woman won't get to know you past the barrier of not having enough money, status, blah, 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 if your resume on paper isn't good enough and isn't getting her to want to be with you, right? Then you don't want to be with someone like that anyway. And then past that, even if she did, there might be incompatible things that you just can't live with a person with. I've had serious relationships that didn't last because money and status and stuff wasn't important to them, and they did find me interesting. But after the initial 3-month or however long the honeymoon period lasts in dating, you just find you're not compatible with them. It's no one's fault. They're just different people. They want different things out of life. But for someone who is calibrated superficially, so if you're a woman and you're just calibrated towards money, status, alpha male, all that blah, blah, blah crap and bullshit out there, then I'm sorry, you are going to get the dead experience and I feel empty. I'm not loved. There's no meaning. What do guys want? Why does this keep happening? Yeah, because you don't find meaning interesting. You don't find the person interesting. Past the initial buzz and excitement of a new toy that's shiny and expensive and he's got money and everything's new and exciting, that always wears off. No matter what you buy that you saved up for, that you finally got, you get used to it. But if you look for meaning, no matter what you get, it retains meaning, and you can keep retaining it for as long as it's compatible with. Or if it was compatible with who you are, then it's different through just being surface level, superficial. So if women look just for money, status, superficial stuff as their only bar to get into a relationship, and I'll learn to love him. That I just need that, and then I'm fine having a relationship. Or guys just say, looks are the only important thing. So whether you're a male or female, and those superficial qualities are all you need to get serious and get into bed and be risky and throw your life down the toilet potentially, then it's on you. If you don't find meaning, important stuff, values important, I'm sorry, it's no one's fault but you. It's not society's fault. It's not. It's society's fault to a point in certain contexts, in certain situations. If you talk to me about, well, my ex-wife took the kids, took my money, slept with some young Chad in our bed and blah, blah, blah. Yep, you are 100% right. Okay, let's talk about before that too. Let's talk about when you met. What was she like? Oh, no, let's not talk about, yeah, why don't we talk about that? We have to holistically own the reality of everything to feel more secure in how we start dates and not just be secure and know the end of dates. We're really sure about the end of dates and if someone was unfair, but we don't have that same interest and intensity and intellectual curiosity and that same willpower of, no, this isn't fair, this is unfair, this is right, this is wrong. Why not have it at the beginning as well? No, we don't care. Oh, no, just keep it lighthearted. Bang chicks left and right. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun until it's not fun anymore. What's the point of being philosophical at the end when it's pointless? You're shouting into the void. You're basically someone, it's just pointless. I'm just reiterating the same point. Yeah, go into relationships, not go into relationships, go into dates, go into meeting people, having fun, not worrying about anything because you're not committing to anything. You go on a coffee, you go on a date to have fun, to talk to someone. You haven't committed to anything past spending your own time in the company of someone in conversation. Remember, I think conversation, you're there for the revelatory conversation that will inform whether or not you want to go on another date with this person. But it's based on values, and you won't know the values until you talk and clarify them through conversation. Insist upon them answering questions, but be fun about it. Laugh. Have a smile on your face. Don't give a crap what they think. If they like you, they like you. If you've got a red flag in your head, you've got a red flag. Like, ask them, clarify the question in your head. You said this. Do you mean this or this? And get them to answer it. If they're avoidant, don't let it slide. And if they still don't want to answer, no matter how many times, and they say, look, that's uncomfortable, like I don't want to answer it. It's like, okay, it's important to me. That's why I keep asking. I'm not asking to make you uncomfortable. I'm only asking because it's a very important question to me. But I respect you not wanting to. But then at least you asked and you clarified to them you're not being rude. It's important to you. And if it's awkward, it's awkward. But at least well, they're touchy about that. Then you have to decide, do I want to be around a person that's so closed about subjects I find so important? Do I want to be around someone who doesn't care that I need to know? I find it interesting. If they care about me, they also care about my needs. If they don't care about my needs, they don't care that I need to know, they don't care about I'm uncomfortable, then I don't care about going out with them. I don't care about their needs either. You need to be very clear about this sort of stuff. You need to be very fair about this stuff. There's nothing wrong with what I'm saying. And most of you who follow my channel know this. It's getting used to thinking this way, thinking fairly and articulating this fairness and directness to people. I find it refreshing when I meet a guy or a girl who can talk this direct and clear and not rude. It shows their ability that they've really introspected. They've really kind of reflected on a lot of important things, and they've written it down and they've verbalized it. They might have gone to therapy. They might have spent a lot of time soul searching, writing in their journals, whatever it might be. So my hat goes off to them. Roman says, are you on a different exercise program at the moment? You are looking more fit and trim. Really? My eyeballs looking fat. Yeah, I've been sort of eating differently. I've just been lowering my calories, just been on a low, not no carb, but just low carb diet. That's about it. And only listening to my body when I'm actually hungry, not when my brain is hungry. So nothing too complicated, but I am trying to eat lower calories and intentionally avoiding as much carbs as I can, but not negating carbs if I really feel like it. So for instance, last night I had this really nice soup, but I didn't want to negate the enjoyment of the soup by not having some bread with it. But if I don't really feel like soup, I'm not going to have the bread on its own. So if the meal, its primary thing involves carbs, I won't have it. But if there's an addition to carbs, but the primary meal is not, if it's mainly protein or something else, the addition of a little bit of carbs on the side, I won't negate myself, but I'll pick, low carb wraps or thin wraps or low density bread, things like that, something that's kind of healthier. But I'm not nuts about it. It also might have to do with me looking thinner with the lens I'm using. Remember, I use a 24mm lens on my streams, but on my videos, I switch up. If I put a 50mm lens on now, I would add probably 10 to 15 kilos to my face. It stretches everything out. The 24mm lens, so 50, 80 makes you look fatter. The lower you go down in lens number, it makes you look thinner. It squashes everything out to fit more in the frame as it widens the picture. For those of you who know about photography and videography, you'll know what I mean. Mr. Highway, how are you, man? Good to hear from you. He says, I'm not sure if I'm more direct these days or if my give a damn is just busted. Most people find it off-putting, but it really is a shortcut to finding your type of people. Exactly. You'll find out their type of humor. Your don't give a damn kind of humor will resonate with someone. It's kind of like comedy. The best comedy, the best comedians have that don't give a damn attitude. They're very confident and they'll tell you exactly what they think through their confident humor. And I think by the way Mr. Highway writes, I would say that you know how to speak too. So if you know how to speak, if a person feels badly or doesn't like how you speak, but objectively you have not been rude, you have just been direct, polite, and civil, who gives a damn about their opinion or their insecurities or their sensitivities? If you haven't been rude, if you haven't intentionally been blunt and insensitive, if you've used tact, if someone's obese and I'm talking to them, I'm not just kind of talk to them as though I know them and start making fat jokes. There's a degree of intelligence and tact you have. So how you communicate, there's a very big baseline range of like being civil and direct and polite and stuff. So speak better, think better, communicate better. You'll find interactions easier. And if people take you the wrong way and you haven't said anything wrong and you've been very clear, you don't know how else to communicate this to the person other than the most polite, civil way that you have, but they are very offended. It's their problem. It's not yours. Also, in terms of this topic about being direct, if you are looking, because I posed this topic, my woman asked me what the stream was going to be on about today, and I told her about being direct. And she sort of made a point. She says, if you're looking to be serious, if that's your intent, dating, you're more likely to be yourself. And I think this is true. Think about it. If your intent in dating is just to have fun, and you want to avoid serious topics, you probably won't be yourself, or you won't reveal the important sides of you that would make you really like someone or trust them. You'll put on a mask and just keep it surface level, avoid anything that's uncomfortable. Just make every day about the surface and, make every conversation flirty and lead to sex and all that kind of stuff. Just avoid any meaning and keep it all surface and superficial. And sex is superficial. Don't think sex is intimate insofar as like biologically, like you can't get any more naked literally, and it's very vulnerable. But today sex is just avoidance. It's a way people use to convince themselves that like we've got a real relationship. It's meaningful. It's like, why? Because you bang each other. There's prostitutes do that too. So for me, it's if you find important conversations interesting, like I knew that I find these kind of conversations interesting, which kind of aligns with, what kind of people I find more interesting to be around for the long term. I can go to a barbecue and listen to some guy talking about his, Tesla's latest battery capacity and what watch he's got and, his investment property and portfolio and the mileage on his car and mobile phone upgrades and blah, blah, blah. And, the war in blah, blah, blah. And, politics and yada, yada. It's like, yeah, okay. I can be polite and listen to that chit chat and respond with, yeah, what are you going to do? Or I might have a one-word reply just to be sociable, but I'm not going to have an immersive conversation with that. And if you go out there, again, your intent, what's your intent? Go out, have fun, be you. But I find interesting, revelatory, philosophical, non-PC discussions refreshing. I was tired of the cookie cutter, safe, politically correct chicks out there that I didn't know if they were a girl power chick, if I didn't know if they were more traditional, if I didn't know who they were. Everyone's presenting as a cardboard cutout of the same person, but they look different. The only difference was how they looked. Everyone else was kind of quasi the same person. It's like, what's the point? What's different? How they look naked, whether they're shaved or not shaved, whether they have a landing strip, whether they like doggy style or not. Like, what's the point? Because everything aside from the bedroom is, yeah, coffee, let's go out, shopping, let's trips, vacations. Where's this relationship going? It's like, where is this relationship going? I'm doing the video I'm actually producing next is about that. I've come to realize now that the people who ask where this relationship going, they have no idea because you don't talk. Because I talk, I never have to ask. That's that frankly stupid question. Being in a relationship for months or years and then where are we going? Are you serious? I talk and we communicate. We should know exactly where we are. But you only ask that question because you don't talk. Your relationship is a sham. It's all surface level. You don't communicate. So directness, you can come at with me with all the excuses in the world why, it might not work. But at the end of the day, being yourself and being direct and being honest about who you are and what you want, what your boundaries are, whether the person likes it or not, whether you have to watch the hot 10 out of 10 walk away because they're shocked and offended, it's like, that's the right thing to do. Because keeping hot girl power mess around you, potentially, you will look back on that, a couple of days, months or years after that and say, why was I afraid to just cop a loss with this person? Like, why was I afraid to let them go? There might be a reason why they're hot and single and going on a date with me and I'm in middle age now. Why has no guy wanted her? Why has she had such bad luck on dates? She won't talk. She's not honest. She's not completely openly honest with her conversation. I wonder why. Because she's hiding a lot. She's a chameleon. She's a narcissist. She's whatever, Open and honest conversation will reveal this. And if you find it important, you will be able to read between the lines and clarify the little red flags you sense and see and hear. Jackdaw says, oof, about that professional environment socialization perspective, ever since the Marine Corps, my tolerance for social indirectness and fakery is completely gone. I can only tolerate directness. Yes. Directness, refreshingly going, I see them for who they are now and they're not for me. We don't have to play this game of polite etiquette trying to keep two incompatible people together. At worst, imagine two churches of opposing beliefs politely trying to marry each other and just fighting all the time. That's what happens when couples start fighting about you left the glass here and your toothbrush is left there or you left your socks on the floor. That is what happens when you don't communicate, when there's no directness. You start looking for any problem to free you from what your senses and your instincts know is just boiling under the surface and you're not communicating about. Brian says, if someone is insensitive about a subject, they shouldn't bring it up. They need to be aware of their triggers. If you are the one to bring it up, you should probably gracefully apologize. Yeah, if you notice and say, look, are you offended by that? I noticed that you were taken back by that. Or if they say, I don't want to talk about it. And you say, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. And you could tell they just don't want to talk about it. It's like, but also let them know too, Don't apologize for asking. Say, I didn't mean to offend you, but it's important to me, because I find this important, and I want to know where you stand, but so that's why I'm asking. So if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. So at least they know it's important for you, but don't avoid. That's what I'm saying. Be polite, be considerate. Don't keep digging and poking at a sore spot of her, but just let her know that you noticed and it's important to you, and you both notice the incompatibility or the awkwardness. And she gets to know with you that you're direct. Insist that they're direct too. Not impolitely. Velvet gloves. Apologize if she feels like you've been pushy, but explain that you haven't. Be polite about where you're coming from and say, I won't talk about it anymore, but I only asked because of X, Y, and Z. That's all. But I won't talk about this anymore unless you bring it up. And let her know that you're walking away with that awkward moment. And either she comes out and she's honest with it, or she says, oh, okay, fine. He's not going to talk about it. But the kind of person you are, you're going to point something else out. You just need to be open for your own sake, so you're not hidden, so you're always out in the sunlight, so you're always enjoying your life, so you're not hiding, so you're not apologizing, so you're not fearful, so you never walk on eggshells. And if they want to hide, if they want to walk on eggshells, if they want to play games, it's their problem. But you are going to be a bull in a china shop with velvet gloves on in terms of revealing the truth. And if people are uncomfortable by you politely insisting upon reality and the truth and who you are, then it's not your problem, because you are trying to live honestly, So I don't see a problem with it. A lot of people can make excuses about it. Fine, go about it the way you want, but you are going to get the results in your life by the strategies you use. Simple as that. Decide on your ethics and your strategies and defend them as much as you want, but there are predictable results from the way you go about doing things with people, how you avoid things. You can say, well, it was a really hurtful moment and I never want to talk about it. Okay, fine. But if that's always an awkward spot in your relationships, if that always causes a distance between you and your partner, and it causes an awkwardness, but they just have to not ever talk about that thing, it causes distance. What causes distance between you and living? And if you justify the distance, fine, but the distance will always be there. I'm sorry. The world can't keep walking on eggshells around you. Like, I can love someone, but if I'm always walking around eggshells around a certain topic, that means there's a distance between me and them. Even if I respect that topic, it hurts them. Okay, I won't talk about it, but it's always going to be a barrier between me and the other person. And I can be polite about it. But you can't pretend that I'm completely close to you 100% if you close off parts of yourself, if you lie about things, if you hide things, if you avoid things. I'm not perfect. I stumble too, but I know that's the right thing to do. That's the right attitude. Let's see. I'm looking at the comments. Okay. I'm not ignoring you, Roman. I'm just not pedestalizing your flirty comments with everyone so you can have a stage. No, Tari, I've never heard of Sarah Dawn Moore. Okay. She sounds similar to you in wanting to shift our thinking beyond just pointless fingers at Chicky Poo and bridge the divide through conversation. But also, instead of pointing fingers, there are times you need to be humble and go, yeah, this was my fault too. It's not just pointing fingers, but in the conversation, if I'm talking with someone, like in the past when I was on dates, when a girl didn't want to admit when she was wrong or she could have done things better, because I certainly want to be able to do that too. If she's never at fault, even if she doesn't, because you can not point fingers, but you can still avoid topics. You should be able to point fingers where finger pointing is valid, but also when it's pointed to you as well. You should be able to talk as the third person observing the interaction between you and your ex and being objective about it, where, yeah, I was wrong here, she was wrong there. This is why it didn't work. We both should not have avoided this topic. We should have communicated a bit. Like, just be very fair about it. Finger pointing is good as long as it's fair. But I don't think finger pointing as like just an offensive, a defensive tactic is good. Emmett says, a bit off topic, but have you read about the 1960 rat utopia experiment? Yes, I have. I don't know if as people we're a little lost purpose-wise these days. Yes, but again, the only thing we can do is care enough intelligently to change our situation. All we're doing is complaining. We're being victims, and we're just kind of just being irrationally complaining animals rather than doing what we know is right. But it requires effort, either physical effort in our lives or cognitive effort to go beyond the resistance of, oh, I can't be bothered, it's too hard. Like, our brains want to do what's easy. Our brains want us to keep still and do nothing. So any kind of effort, mental, any kind of David Goggins coming into your head and making you move mentally is resisted by logically looking for something to resist it, like nature, politics, laws, the world, and my situation. It's too hard. Like, there's a lot of logic to it, but it depends how much you want to stubbornly take a step forward. How long are you going to hold your nose and sit in shit? And at what point do you go, you know what, like, I'm tired of holding my nose and sitting in shit. Let me take a step to the left, at least, so the smell gets less. You become very good at complaining and very secure in complaining about sitting in shit. But at what point do you want your life to be better? I can nod my head and talk all day to guys in the manosphere that are still talking about what's wrong and the unfairness and stuff. Yeah. But the moment you start talking about solutions, personal ones, philosophical ways out of your situation where you can create your own ethics, you're still mindful of the reality of the world and what's unfair and all that. But let's talk about solutions. No. I remember the glib dismissal back in the day was like, well, we're not looking for solutions. We're being descriptive, not prescriptive. We're not going to tell anyone what to do. Sure, we're not telling anyone what to do, but let's talk about possible ways out. Let's talk about possible solutions where life isn't just about defending ourselves from women and the world and unfairness and, victimhood. At what point do I want to be better than a victim? I acknowledge unfairness, but I want to have a different mindset that is actually practical. This isn't a bullshit mindset where I'm fooling myself into feeling better for no logical reason. This is a constructive mindset that will lead me to have a better life because, excuse me, I talk to a lot of the guys that are overly scientific and academically clinical about the manosphere content, and I can agree with a lot of what they're saying, but the moment I talk from a philosophical point of view where I'm not wrong, but my change in attitude will result in a better life, they will automatically play whack-a-mole and say, no, science, 1 + 1 = 2. You're wrong. Because she could always leave you. Okay, she could, but the chances of her leaving me are a lot smaller if I conduct myself this way. And my principles and my immovable boundaries are like this. Yeah, but there's still a chance. Yeah, but it's a small chance she leaves me with this attitude, isn't it? But it's still a chance. So their small percentage swallows the whole. So no matter what I say, if there's always a chance that they could be right in a small way, that means it's mic drop, and they are completely right. Because this is the hypocrisy. My attitude has to be airtight and perfect, whereas their attitude, even if there's a chance of their attitude happening in a small way, it's still airtight and perfect. It's hypocritical. So all of their rights are right, however small a chance they can be right. But my rights, even if they're bigger, depending on how I talk about it and what attitude and how I decide to conduct myself, it doesn't matter if the chances of my life is better than theirs. The fact that theirs could still be incrementally right overrides. So it doesn't matter. Like, it's kind of like talking to a woman sometimes with these men. No matter what you say, if there is a small chance, they're right. If there's a big chance, they're right. So no matter what it is, they're always right. Big chance, small chance, they're just playing musical chairs with their church of whatever they want to believe in. So they won't have a conversation with me. I'm willing to have a fair conversation with their science and this and that. But the moment I start to make their cold science that has nothing to do with the personal, it's only got to do with women, it's only got to do with science and stuff like that. Yeah, it informs my personal. But the moment I start, okay, when you go on a date, it's about nuance. It's about personal. It's about your own boundaries. It's about your own balancing of the scales of female nature, what I care about. Do I want kids? Yeah, right? If we're talking biology, all animals should, do, and need to have kids. Do you? Well, no. Oh, well, you should, Mr. Manosphere. You're an animal. Have kids, whether you want to or not. The species, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but what do you mean, but? Are you getting personal now? Pick one. Which one's more important for you? What you personally want, informed by science, stats, data? Or do you want to be science, stats, data and complain about the lack of personal? You need to pick one to direct your life. Be realistic about both. I've always said that your empirical experience is the last and major filter that everything should be processed by. Read the data, read the stats, listen to guys, be warned about their horror stories. But when you go out there, you make the decision. You decide if you like blondes or brunettes. You decide if you want kids or not. You decide if you want to go this far in a relationship or that far, if you want one or not. You can't avoid the personal in having personal relationships. It's just so stupid to me. And it's really hard to bridge that conversational human gap with these, frankly, robots that are trying to use a calculator to have a personal interaction with someone. There's no, like, a relationship with someone, a personal one, a joke, comedy, it's art. There's an art to doing this. There's a skill. And no one wants to talk about that because they say it's feelings. There's no black and white way to do it. The black and white way is by you taking it personally and your black and white principles. That's the black and white way. But if you don't want to do that, then yeah, of course, you're left to the whims of nature. You're on autopilot. Anyway, I nearly spilt my coffee. Any more questions, guys? Luciano says, also, why do many grown-ass men see validation from other men when dating? Are they stuck in arrested development or something? Probably. There's a lot of guys that have gone from being used and abused and needing validation from mummy to their girlfriends, and then they've had enough and they found the manosphere, and now they need the validation of men as well. So they just replace one for another. They're just comfortable with being validated, and they don't care where from. I'd say if you need to work through being validated, I would say be validated through your hobbies and interests. At least they won't shame you. It's kind of going to be practical whether or not you fail or learn something, but validation through people are cruel. People are avoidant. You never get answers. At least if you're validated through your hobbies and interests, you'll see what you're made of. Like, up is up, down is down. 1 + 1 = 2. So at least the validation through things and hobbies, the math and ontology of the world is a lot more realistic. But I think a lot of those validation through people comes from childhood. What you didn't get, or what you did get too much and you got smothered by, and what you saw as a relationship. You know, you might think, I know I'm in love and I love this person because they validate me. Whether it's healthy or not is another thing. Again, make it personal, know why you react this way. But yeah, men don't just get validated by women, they get validated by other men. Look at a lot of the manosphere, the PUA area and stuff. A lot of it is how to be a high value man, where you get the respect of other men and stuff. It's kind of like, a lot of it is avoidant to actually what you want as a person. They don't care if you're an introvert or an extrovert. They don't care about what you're into. They don't care about what you intrinsically value as Joe, Bill, or Bob. They just make you into a cookie cutter man who can get any cookie cutter female. And then how do you avoid the personal? I don't know. I'm teaching you how to get any animal out there that you can bang in bed. I'm teaching you how to be an animal that can mate. Okay, fine. Science teacher with a PUA t-shirt on. A Deep River says, a guy I really liked was an orphan. Just started a job, didn't even know how to drive, but I loved his simplicity, his truth, his soul. But he wasn't ready for me, and I accepted where he was at. Okay. Brian says, personal accountability as to why you went that far with a person. Taking accountability brings meaning. Yeah. You'll start to answer questions. Why did this happen? See, that's the really illuminating thing. I look back and I'm honest about what I did and didn't do, my lack of boundaries, where I went wrong. I know I'm clear about where I went wrong with Jane and Jill and Sue and Nancy before that, much more than I can find clarity with knowing why I went wrong with X female that exhibited these characteristics with female nature and society and the laws. And you're bound to repeat it because every woman's going to be that robotic same thing that you insist that she is. I learned from my experience with Jane more than I learned from my experience with a woman that happened to be called Jane. They are always the individual first when you're talking about in relationships. You have to insist upon that. Then you'll find the meaning, as Brian said. And then when you talk to someone else, you'll refreshingly know, like, oh, this chick, she's asked these sort of questions about herself too. She's interested in this kind of discussion. I love the language we're using. We're on the same page of curiosity, you know? That's great. Then you know you're compatible, at least on the conversational level. Revealing things, how you talk about things, how you want to uncover things, rather than doing the boring stuff that everyone else can do. Because then it's harder to judge yourself, you know, should I go out with them? Like, I like them, but I don't know how. The meaning part clarifies a lot of that. Luciano, thank you again for the super chat donation. Remember, guys, if you want to ask me a question, if you're here live, super chat me. I'll try to definitely read the question. Otherwise, put 3 bright emojis, preferably circles, in front of your question. Luciano asks, says basically we have been fantasized Western dating because responsibility and doing the right thing are too angsty for people to handle, me included. Yeah, me included in the past too. But then when you're tired of going through that same crap over and over again, and then feeling demoralized, and then feeling I should have known better, and feeling like, oh, I'm 40 years old, I'm still doing this. I'm 40 years old, and I still can't speak up when she reveals this about herself. I still can't say no to mummy, you know, in a Freudian sense. You really just have to start taking those small, courageous steps. Otherwise, you're just going to keep repeating it, and you're going to feel ashamed of it when you're 50, 60, 70, 80. And the way to not feel ashamed is to go, you know what? I'm not talking to females anymore. I'm stopping dating, which you're fine to do. But I would much rather stop dating where I know objectively I've exhausted everything and I've tried and I've been as honest as I can be on the last few dates and last couple of serious relationships. And it's not me. As honestly as I can admit, it's not me. Like, I don't know how much more honest I can be. And I had the discussion when we broke up, like, what, like, wasn't I honest? Didn't I do this? And her responses are avoidant and stuff. It's like I've tried, I've investigated, I've tried to work it out. I'm talking from every avenue. Tell me, what did I do wrong? What did I break a promise? I tried, and then I'm just done in trying. Like I know I can't be any more honest. And the last couple of exes, they admitted, some of them admitted directly it was them. And even if when it didn't work out, I kind of said, look, I know you want to leave or we're breaking up. Is there anything I can do? Not that I would change, but I want to know, is there anything they're afraid to tell me? Because if there's something I can't change about myself, I'll say, well, I can't change that. If they would come out with one of my past relationships many, many years ago, her final thing where I really got down to the bone, she says, like, I just really want kids. I was afraid to tell you. And I didn't know how to approach the subject because I know it's a deal breaker for you, but I just realized I just do want kids. It was like, I just wanted you to be honest with me. I know it's hard, but I can't. I don't want kids. I don't want to be a dad. It will turn my life into something I don't want, and I don't want to resent you. I don't want to, I can't. As Meatloaf said, I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. So, those conversations are things you have to have. And if it's a person you love, do it with velvet gloves. Be soft about it, but make sure that it's revealed. So you can sleep later. You don't have regrets. I wish I could go back and do things better and quicker and more efficiently with my ability to communicate better as you get older. But I always tried. I never just dumped a serious relationship out of nowhere like it's happened once or twice to me. I've always tried to communicate, whereas some guys think it's great to just dump a chick the moment she transgresses one of their manosphere boundaries that they've set before they even met her. Yeah, have your own rule book, but you'll have the consequences of your rule book as well. Can you live with your rule book of your ethics and your philosophical morality that you have in relationships and your romantic boundaries? Are they too childish? Is it a lot of macho bullshit behind it because you want to seem good in front of other guys when you tell stories? Are you manufacturing a relationship that you can show off with, or are you genuinely dating? Do you have standards and boundaries and a list of ethics that are really aligned with who you are, so that if someone ticks those off, they are compatible with you? Not that you will avoid pain because you can show off to guys, oh, look, I've got a high-value chick because I ticked the manosphere ethics and standards, or did I tick my own and I don't give a damn? Like if you're a guy who wants kids and marriage, I want kids and marriage. There's a tick here. That's something. I won't commit to a relationship. I won't go further. I won't get serious. I won't marry her or whatever it might be. Rather than impressing a whole bunch of male strangers on the internet any more than you want to impress female strangers on dates. It's worthless because there's no meaning behind it, because it's not based on any meaning that you find valuable. You don't have your own value system. Deep River says, I'm extremely direct with men and want the same. It has been good so far. Yeah. Men and women should, like this game playing now in this environment around the world with the politics and the wokeness and all that bullshit. The only thing you've got is direct honesty and being polite and more civil. We've regressed to being more and more animals, and we insist upon believing we're animals and nature and biology and male nature and female nature and high value male. The only thing we got left is to go back and adjust ourselves to be more civilized and intelligent and deal with each other as adults. We are dealing with each other as scared 5-year-olds now. So direct, intelligent communication as adults, and then like the romantic flowers and all that stuff, that comes as the icing on the cake. But leading with the romantic naivety when your 5-year-old's dating, that is a recipe for disaster. Um, all right. Sunday morning cope. Everything we do in life that puts a smile on our face or makes life clearer could be considered a cope, depending on how you want to look at it. Ask if it is okay to leave the toilet seat up. Yeah, there are a small little there are small little fun questions that will reveal her answer. If she's very serious about and very adamant, no, guy should, like, if she's very strict, that might suggest that it's always going to be her way. So those kind of questions can reveal a lot about her sense of humor. Can she laugh at herself? Is she highly strung? Can you live with that? But you only get to know it if you're prepared to ask those questions. Deep River, I'm assuming you're a female, says, it's funny I asked a 52-year-old guy who was pursuing me what was his intention. He just was so wishy-washy and not giving me a direct answer. 3 months later, he got married and then divorced shortly. Yeah. Alan says, as a gay man, yes, I got hooked on the accent. That lasted for 10 seconds. I stayed for the philosophy. I would say we all stay for the philosophy in the end, because that's where the meaning is. Jack Dawes says, by this point, I see even gentlemanly, polite honesty to be boring and annoying. I'd rather live as crass as possible. It's about freedom, vetting people fast, and having actual free. I would disagree with that, because people's first reactions with you, even me, if a chick was like rudely direct to me, I would naturally be defensive because I don't know her. I don't know her sense of humor. I don't know her beyond the surface. So polite civility and having tact, if you don't know someone, it's kind of logical common sense, because person will take you the wrong way because they don't know you. After they get to know you, yeah, you could sort of argue, well, they kind of know me. I don't know why they're getting offended. Then they got insecurity issues or something. I don't know. But yeah, you do you, but you're going to get the consequences of that as well. So we do need to meet people halfway, but I think it's kind of, you've got to be reasonable. As I said, you meet someone, you don't know anything about them. There's a reasonable amount of civility and not being too blunt and direct and overpowering and crass, as you said. But if you want to be that way, you might get chicks that, or guys that love the bad boy and they love that crassness. And so, oh, great, I don't have to be intimate and deep. Let's just be surface level, bad girl, bad boy, and, you know, jump each other's bones and have a superficial relationship. But let's not go deeper than that. Let's just be crass. Let's put on an act. How do you know if the crassness is an act? I dated someone where she had a lot of, not crassness, but her jokes, and she didn't have a lot of political correctness. And I thought it was refreshing, and it revealed to me at the time, I thought, she was very open, but she used it as a mask where she didn't talk about stuff that really meant a lot to her. So sometimes people use a lot of that you can misinterpret as genuine openness, but it's not, or genuine directness. So you've got to be astute and observant about that. I didn't even notice Emmett. It's okay. We've been going for we're approaching an hour and a half mark. Anyone have any more comments about being direct and the efficacy of being direct, the utility of being direct, especially for guys who are practical, who are very science-based in the manosphere? I don't really see the mathematical disadvantage of being direct, but also lubricating it with being able to speak politely, civilly, fairly, with tact. That will lubricate your directness so you can not waste time and know who this person is sooner, clearer, better, enjoy the date, or end the date quicker. I really don't see the lose of the situation. I really don't see the disadvantage. So please, whether it's mathematical or philosophical, I really don't see the downside of being articulately polite and direct and open without fear, and politely being able to realize, like, yeah, you're not my person. We're on the but it was nice and refreshing meeting you. It's the same when you go on a holiday. You go somewhere and, whoa, it's different. I'm staying at this hotel for a couple of nights. This was weird. Just take it as an interesting, refreshing experience. And then you go on a plane and you try and find home. A lot of people are dating that way. I've used the metaphor. I think I kind of widely coined the metaphor of people dating like they're dating on holiday. They're constantly visiting other refreshing countries, but they're not really asking whether or not it's home. I always wanted to find home. Relationships long-term are where you find home. Whereas people go on roller coasters, they go on holidays, and just because it's exciting and refreshing and it's a reprieve from your life, you're avoiding your real life. The roller coaster, the holiday is where you can forget about your life, but ultimately you have to go back home. The holiday ends. And a lot of people just stay on holiday thinking that they can have a life on perpetual holiday, living as nomads. But you can't live as a nomad on perpetual holiday and then complain about the lack of stability, the lack of, your tiredness is like, I insist on being a flight attendant, but I want to settle down and I don't want to change my attitude. My last ex used to be a flight attendant for decades, I think, before she decided to kind of give up that career and change to another one. And I could see with her, she had a very hard time philosophically in her belief system and how she related to people to actually be vulnerable, stay still, and be completely honest. She was always distracting, wanting to go and escape to holidays and cafes and stuff. And she was great to talk to, but I really realized that she was so used to conditioning herself, and she found it, even though she wanted to settle down and she was tired, like she left the stewardess's life many years ago, but even though she wanted to settle down, she was just so conditioned and so foundational with traveling and moving and having fun in the outside world that the intimate world of, revelatory conversation between the person you love and wanting to be completely open, she was just very avoidant. And not because I could tell she wanted to, she struggled. She sometimes had tears in her eyes where she couldn't really explain to me what she felt because she just spent decades avoiding or not being interested enough in it. And I felt sorry for her, but I can't help you where you can't dig yourself out of that conversational hole. Like I'm trying, I'm asking, I'm waiting. But the 5-year-old is just being smothered by a wall that they've been conditioned by avoidance. And again, I'm not perfect. I still have I stumble upon avoidant things and people pleasing and stuff like that. But I'll be honest enough if you bring up the topic and like, yeah, I put my hand up, like I need to improve that. Like, yeah, you're right. I do. Yeah, I'm at fault there. I really do need to get better at that. Like that's my problem. Yeah, it might come from, I don't want to be hurt because of blah, blah, blah and stuff. Like, I don't want to be afraid by that. I don't want that going forward and debilitating me and me walking on eggshells because I'm trying to find intellectual excuses. No, you're right. It's like a Achilles heel for me. You're absolutely right. I wish it wasn't there. I need to get better. But it comes to the point of the person wanting to sort of improve. If you find every excuse not to improve, if you think it's always the fault of other people, the government, women, yeah, Yeah, women are to blame with a lot of stuff. But in your personal relationships, when you start to try and make a woman into an individual that you want to date to the exclusion of all other women, you want to materialize the vague women into a specific woman that you want to be responsible with, then those things are personal. You have to know how to communicate. You have to make sense of it. You can't rely on the manosphere, on the world, on politics, on girl power to fix problems. I hear this comment in the comment sections. Well, when the laws get fixed, then I will blah, blah. Yeah, keep waiting, buddy. And same with women. Well, why don't men? Yeah, keep waiting. Chicky poo. Change your approach, change your intent. How are you dating? What intent are you dating with? Are you dating with, we'll see what happens, it's all luck. I'm waiting for Prince Charming to come along and sweep me off my feet. Is every man a villain until he proves himself innocent? Or are you going to reflect on the villain inside of you that's what's the word? That's sabotaging every interaction. Yeah. Ted1775 says, not going to lie, I'm on cloud 9 so far about this woman. Good, but make sure you temper it. Don't allow your emotions to make it more serious than it practically is. If the real world stuff, if you've given yourself enough time, like if you were your own best friend, right? What would you be saying to yourself? Would you be saying, that's great, Ted, but if she's great, she'll be great in 5 months, in 6 months, in a year. Give it the amount of time that will make it certain beyond any doubt. But don't be impatiently jumping to the next step because you think she'll fly away. She won't. You know she won't. You won't. Do you want to let it go? No, you don't. And if she feels the same way, she won't want to let you go. Just calm yourself down with that realization. Don't kind of listen to the manosphere and like, yeah, but female nature, if some other guy shows interest, it's like, no. If all it takes is another guy to show interest in her, then like, good riddance. She hasn't become anything yet. The potential is fantastic, Ted. I'm not going to negate it. And I'm not saying for you to lower yourself, but just temper it with an adult mind. It's not going anywhere if it's good. It'll last. And if it's going to crumble at the slightest, wind, if it's going to fall over like a deck of cards, if you're that insecure about it, you don't want to feel insecure about this. Insist upon this being a rock. And right now it's exciting. There's a lot of potential. Don't be excited like a deck of cards. Be excited like cement. Everyone's bigger. Thank you for the super chat donation. I'm grateful. You're a dude. Love your content. Thanks, man. Love your donation too. I appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. Join the channel at whatever tier you want. It helps me out. But as long as you interact, YouTube really loves it. Even dislike the videos. It doesn't bother me. YouTube just likes interaction. People have eyeballs on screen. That's all they care about. And yeah, watch the videos. Watch them all the way through. Share them with people. Share them around. The more people get to watch them, the more I feel like, this topic's interesting. People want to hear this. But if no one's watching it, I love talking to you guys, like the faces I see all the time, like Just the Guy, Ted, and a couple of the others. Paul, Finch, Rocket, Wayne, all the regulars. Vero. But yeah, I want to be able to expand this conversation. Then I'm not going to change the world, but more and more people will be able to think about this thing, think better as men, and then they're going to think better as guys because they're philosophically always thinking about this confidently in here. They're thinking about this like a quasi Marcus Aurelius, like a stoic, like a better writer, a better thinker. So then you'll think and feel better on dates. you'll be able to interpret and think about your feelings better on dates. It's not just, I like her. You know why you like her because you're thinking better about it. You can articulate why you like her. So this conversation gets out more. So yeah, spread the videos around, share them around, watch them again, watch them all the way through. The clickbait stuff, the little 15-second reels don't really educate anyone. They're sound bites of dopamine hits, and they don't really do very much at all. I don't know if you can hear someone's revving a motorcycle outside my house. God, someone's revving a car. Deep diver, why don't most men use condoms? I hear so many men getting with women pregnant they do want to be with or don't want to be with. I don't know. That's the recklessness. They believe it's like there's nothing you can do. It's all luck. It's chance. What's the point? I might as well. Life is meaningless. My life is meaningless. I don't have any power. I might as well just let go and have some enjoyment. If you believe life is luck, no wonder you don't think philosophically. No wonder you don't think you can think or act in any way, because nothing matters. You become zero. And then again, it's even worse because women think more about themselves, but guys don't. Guys think they don't have a voice. They're censored. Nothing I do matters. I'm just going to get my rocks off. What was the joke? I don't know if I can actually... What was the joke that Karu told me? I don't know if I can actually say it online. It was funny. But if I can, it was very, very funny. No, I can't say that. It reminded me about the impregnation of women. Guys just, coming in women without using condoms. Let me just say, no, I can't. I won't even describe it. It'll get flagged. But it was funny. Ask Karu. Ted Wonderful 75. Have you seen the film Hitch? Yes. I didn't mind it up until the end. When Will Smith turned into this blubbering mess, I couldn't stand it. It ruined the whole movie for me. So, yeah, I've seen it. Realistic delinquent refuses to invite him. Invite who? I don't know what you guys are talking about. If you want to ask me a question, please, guys, super chat or put 3 yellow emojis circles before your question to me if you are here live in the chat, and I'll answer them. Also, please listen to the latest conversation, part 1 of the conversation I had with the guys the other day. It was a really illuminating conversation that I don't really think anyone's talked about in the manosphere, about why maybe dating a foreigner isn't like, it's not the right thing to do. It's not like, oh, that'll solve all your problems. But maybe that's why they tend to last longer, because when it's your second language, you just have to be direct. It's very simple. It's very basic. It's very direct. And so it was an interesting discussion. And there are a couple of guys like Rocket, who's been married to an Asian woman when he was younger, and he can attest to the refreshingly direct communication, and it was very honest, and you can start trusting a person because they're very direct. So that's actually very illuminating. That's one benefit to dating someone from another country where English is their second language. Just think about when you go to another country and you're trying to learn the basics just to get by. You haven't got time to learn the really sophisticated gaslighting techniques of yes means no, and you don't have to be clear, but you can evoke an emotional response by talking around the subject. It's like, dude, I can't even talk. I need to be direct. If I need directions to the train station, it's like, excuse me, train station. If I just want to sleep with a girl, it's like, hello, sex. Like, you can't Casanova your way through a conversation. You have to be direct. Maybe your accent will turn them on, but you have to be direct, So I just thought it was interesting how the directness of a second language contributes to being able to trust them through their directness. I thought that was good. Realistic delinquent. He was talking about Pete. So were you asking to put Pete on? I recorded a conversation with Pete a couple of chats ago. Go on my chat channel, and Pete was involved in one of them. Or are you asking me to have a conversation with him again or on his own about a certain topic? So if so, put it DM me or put it below this video, or just put 3 yellow emojis and I'll read it before the chat is over, and I'll know what exactly you mean, because I'm not reading every single comment, guys. There's just too much. I'm focused on answering the questions and talking about the topics at hand. Any final questions, guys? Super chat, 3 yellow emojis, whatever you feel like, and we'll wrap it up. We've been going for an hour and a half or just over. And yeah, happy Orthodox Easter to those of you who are Orthodox, as my background is. I'm Australian. I was born here, but my family are Serbian Orthodox. So Roman will be happy about that probably, because it sounds like he's from the Balkans as well. So happy Easter to all the Orthodox out there. Any last questions? Remember, the best solution I can come up with being direct while still enjoying dates is your intention. Go out, have fun, be you, and have the intent of they're a potential friend, and all you want to do is just have a fun conversation with this person. You don't owe them anything, and they don't owe you a thing. They're not the potential one. And then secondly, when you're there, no topic is off limit. That's the rule. But you do it with a smile on your face. Don't be serious. Be lighthearted. So you go with the intent of having fun and being lighthearted. And even the serious topics, they're not off limits, because you're going to have fun anyway, even with things that mean something to you. Because only then will you even have a chance of revealing any kind of compatibility with the person, or alternatively incompatibility, where you can say, no, thank you, it was a nice time. Then you can meet another person who could be better for you. Why waste time shoving a square peg into a round hole where eventually you're going to fight and break up over a toothbrush anyway, because you just don't talk and you didn't reveal the incompatibility earlier on. You know I'm right. Deep Diver says, I had a question above. Can you repeat the question, Deep Diver? Did I miss one of your super chats? Let me see. Did you put 3 emojis? Did you put 3 emojis? If you didn't, don't blame me. Also, again, what do people think of this mic? Do they like it less? Are they a bit meh? I haven't used this one on a stream ever. It's a simple but really good mic. So if you like it, let me know. But yeah, for those of you who want to know, God, I just looked at my face on screen. I look hideous. How can you guys stomach me? I'm hoping the words override my face. I know they probably don't for Roman and his husband. But all right, any last questions? What was your comment, Deep Diver? Because I can't see the emojis before any of your comments. Mm-hmm. Okay. See, I didn't see that. Let's see. It was regarding the debate of a man's body count being more important because he doesn't get to decide whether he can keep the child. I don't think that's really it. I think the body count of a man is less important. Women always say, like, why do men care about a woman's body count? It's because, one, it's a lot harder for a man to get a woman. For a woman, it's pretty easy. Unless you're completely gross. But even then, a guy will sort of bed obese, gross, anorexic, kind of just the worst kind of women. Even those worst women will go to bed if it's just about sex. So it's harder for men to get a woman. So body count for a man, if a man's got a high body count, it means he tried and he was successful in some way. It's a success. For a woman, it's guttural behavior, for one, because it's really easy. It's sloppy. It's like me bragging about I'm able to beat up 5-year-olds and asking people to give me medals and pat me on the back. But also the big secondary one, it's probably the instinctual biological one, is that a man wants to have his own child. He doesn't want to raise another woman's. So if a woman has a high body count, she's quasi practiced having children with multiple men. Like it ties into sort of, and we're kind of different in that way as well. It's not to justify it philosophically. Yeah, of course, like objectively, there should be no difference. But also a woman, like we don't care if a woman doesn't have a job, but a woman cares. So a lot of the survival biology comes into it. I think it also depends on the degree to which it comes into it with a particular person. So we've all got male and female nature that gets tickled in those primal areas, like protector, provider. We don't like a woman with a high body count. Every man would rather, if they want to have kids, have their own, not raise another man's child. So we do need to, these stupid women that kind of on Fresh and Fit that scratch their heads and go, but why does it matter if I'm on OnlyFans? Why does it matter if I've got kids from another guy? I just don't get it. Yeah, it's because you refuse to look at things from another person's point of view. You're selfish and you're avoiding the mistakes you've made. Are you happy? You're a single mum that you just went to bed with some guy and now you're alone, and would you have rather had your child with a guy that stayed with you that you love? Of course you would, but you are lying to yourself, and you get up on these podcasts and say, no, I don't regret anything. I'm free and single, and I don't care that I've got multiple kids with different men and stuff. Why do guys? Well, if you don't care about your low standards, but a guy does care about your low standards, you're avoiding that. Like, you can't expect guys to have high standards. Oh, I'm supposed to be a high value man, be rich, six pack, intelligent, blah, blah, blah. But you can be a 5-year-old girl that's just wants to be undisciplined and just party and everything. So I'm supposed to respect your low standards as a woman, but I have to have high standards as a man. I should be okay with your low standards, but you're not okay with a man's low standards from a woman's eyes. Can you see the hypocrisy? So a lot of those types of women that scratch their heads pretending, being willfully obtuse and pretending, why do guys have a problem with it? You do too. When a guy's got very lazy, guttural, low standards, you don't respect him. You're rather a guy who has higher standards, who works harder, who defers his gratification because that suggests he's got intelligence and the ability to defer what's most important to what he just wants to do now. Everyone admires people who defer gratification, and an intelligent man that's kind of got a six-pack, worked, is earned money, is intelligent, he's disciplined himself, and discipline is that. Whereas a woman who hasn't disciplined herself, has just gone by her feelings and is just hot, he'll bang you for one night, but he won't value you. Just as you might give a guy you don't find attractive a pity fuck, but you're not going to go out with him. You know what I mean? So let's not pretend that we don't care about the realities of both. But what it really comes down to is when you want to be serious with someone, that's when you have to be honest about your own standards. If I want 8s and 10s in certain standards, I have to be around there too. I have to reciprocate the standards I demand, at least in a certain range. I might not be as great in it, but I need to respect myself and respect the other person. You need to be realistic where you are in the range of 1 to 10, both looks, lifestyle, intellect, temperament, fair with the other person, accommodating, all that kind of stuff. Rayleigh, thank you very much. Human has the best live shows, makes Fresh and Fit seem like the circus. I enjoy doing live streams much more than I did before. I was really nervous at doing live streams when I first started. I think most people are, unless you're like a natural extrovert presenter. I never was, but I wanted to get better at this. And even before live streams, I always resist them because it's not in my nature to be on stage. I also don't like filming myself in video, but I like everything around that. I like the conversations. I like the depth. I like relating to people and having civil discussions about things, important everyday topics and all of that sort of stuff. But the kind of the showiness, the extroverted part, I'm not a big part of it. I'm not a big fan of it. So I do, and I notice I enjoy doing this now, and I like the fact, I'm proud of the fact that I've gotten better and more used to being myself and enjoying being uncomfortable in this way, because getting over the hump of being uncomfortable in real life live streams has taught me to sort of be a better conversationalist, a better giver and taker, not to get over being perfect. This is an example. You know, initially I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen now with the live stream? This is going to be embarrassing. It's like, no, this is exactly why you do live streams, to get over this bullshit, to get over imperfect conversation, to be able to all the stuff that I learn and know and talk about and think is important. Have you got the ability to talk in real time with people on your channel? Similarly, now, I mean, in the past, when I had my channel and I was going on dates, this helped me sitting across from Jill or Rebecca or Jane or whoever. Like, this really helps you. And I knew getting better at this would help me in the real world. You can't just keep what's important to you, who you wish you were, and who you really are at the core here and with a couple of guys you trust in voice chat or in the comments section, or, you know, in a little cage on the internet, in the digital world. It really makes sense to be a more relaxed, less fearful human being, to be able to bring this stuff out here. And live streams help me bring this out through these through the mouth. But thanks for the compliment. Big Derp Energy says most survival biology is nonsense. Excuse me. Women rarely die in rarely die in childbirth, and they are supported by the state. It is an excuse women use, one of many. Yeah. The male and female side, there's a lot of over-exaggerated biology that barely touches the reality of the modern world we live in, but we use it as a convenient excuse to let us off the hook in trying, to let us off the hook in standing up for what we believe verbally and the choices we make on dates, whether we go on dates or not, whether we choose this chick or that chick, whether we agree to this or not, whether we get frustrated by this or not. A lot of that biology's used it as an excuse, not because it's not true. The extent to which it applies in areas of life we're talking about is not practical. It's not realistic. It's just an excuse. And I hear it a lot with the guys when I talk about how I'm thinking about a subject or dating or how I insist upon talking. And it's like, yeah, but she could always leave you. Is that always the mic drop? They've always got the ace up their sleeve, of a meteor could hit. If my conversation is more solid than their one size fits all, yeah, but she could. Yeah, you've got a good chance of it working out the way you said, human, but you can't deny that she could leave you. There's a chance. There's a small chance. Okay, there is. I won. It's like, no, you didn't. Because you're not talking with me. You've got a meme that you're using as a mic drop rather than a conversation that you're using as a mic drop. Don't use memes as mic drops. Use conversations as rebuttals and mic drops. I could respect that. Okay, you got a point, I'll think about that. At the end of the day, it's my decision to make, whether I date her, if I get serious, if I move in with her or whatever. Similarly, if you avoid, you've made the decision. Don't think just because you avoid, you go monk, you move to the cabin in the woods and you live this idyllic lifestyle, this idealized lifestyle, this romantic lifestyle. It might be great, but you've made a choice and the results of that choice will kind of be predictable. I'm not saying you might not have any deviation to sort of that lifestyle, but it's the same. If you date intentionally in a certain way, you will get kind of predictable results. Not perfect. There'll be kind of weird, same old results. You might get the same old woman again, but you'll be able to not date them quicker because you're intentional in a different way. But I agree. Much of the survival biology is nonsense. Listen to how girl power, their rebuttals. Women suffered for hundreds of thousands. Oh, God. You're not suffering now. And the manosphere. Men have always built you're not. Most men today aren't building like we've built it already. Like Elon Musk, you're not Elon Musk. Like no one's being realistic. Like they're scapegoating the past or they're scapegoating other people or they're scapegoating politics. We're not having personal conversations that would improve our personal lives. We're trying to have general conversations in an attempt to improve our personal lives, but we refuse to get personal. Martial arts, oriental medicine. I'm broke today. Oh, no problem, man. You've already donated enough. Like, guys, you don't have to donate, but if you do, I appreciate it, and I will read out your comment. But just make sure you put 3 emojis before your question, and I've got more chance of reading it. But just that if you want a question answered, my guilt, not shame, my logical guilt will trigger a lot more because I feel bad about you asking a question with a donation and I ignored it. So if you really want a question answered, or join the channel as well, that helps out too. Did you have a question, martial arts? Deep Diver says, that's the point, human. If a high-value male bangs a woman who he doesn't want to be with and the woman gets pregnant, he will end up paying child support of a child he never wanted. Yeah, but I would question, are you really a high-value male if you bang someone without your brain switched on? Are you a high-value male structurally without the I would argue you are not a high-value male without the high degree of philosophical and moral sort of intellect. If you don't have a grounded moral philosophy, if you don't have really good ethics and philosophy to guide who you're going to bang, there are a lot of pretty women out there, a lot of 3s that can make themselves into a 7 that's bangable. Let's be honest. Like myself, for instance, in terms of superficial beauty with a woman, I never really found females' faces that appealing. I found their bodies appealing. So I wouldn't care if she was a 3 in the face as long as she was like a 7 or 8 and above in body. So if I was just being judging her physically, if I was just in between break up and wanting to date seriously, if I was just like having fun, I didn't really care. I don't find facial beauty that much of an attractive factor. Objectively, it could be beautiful, yes, a beautiful woman. But in terms of what I would want to go to bed with or date, I don't find facial beauty, it's not high up on my list. I find physical beauty, if I'm just being superficial, I find it much higher. And also, I don't trust very many women who are facially beautiful. And if you add on physical beauty, it's kind of like they never needed to develop their personalities for the most part. And for all those women who are model 10 out of 10s that say, I am, but you're still in your 30s and 40s and still single, I would almost guarantee you're not. You never had to. Again, you prove me wrong. And a lot of women think they're 10s and they're really 5s, so there's that too. So you know, I'll leave it at that. You know what I'm saying. Hardemus says, do you think when things will go so bad that women will ask a reparation of past generation of abused? Yeah, I don't know. I don't care. I don't care what women in plural do. I just care the women I run across, the women I used to date. Until they individually get their act together, I couldn't give a flying fuck what women in general do. I really don't. Because women don't care. They don't. They just kind of just get deeper and deeper into girl power. Women don't mentor, older women aren't mentoring other women and telling them, shut up. Let me tell you where I went wrong. Smarten up. They're not shaking younger women saying, enough. You're ruining everything. Your life's going to be terrible. No one is. Everyone just says, yeah, men are to blame. Girl power. Woo. It's like, I don't care. You don't care about your life. Neither do I. I'm not going to care more about your life than you do. If you don't respect me, I don't respect you. Golden rule. But especially if women don't care about themselves, like I care about men first before I'll care about women. I'm attracted to women, but they're not my sex. I'm much more aligned, and in a very relatable way, a younger man is a younger version of me. A younger woman is just someone I want to go to bed with. It's a very, very different dynamic that I connect with a young woman with. And what have I got to teach her? Nothing. I've got such a heavy bias of why I can relate and how I relate to young women or women in general. It's to do this. It's to do this. It's not to be the same person. That's also why women teaching men how to be men is terrible. They just can't. You can't. So again, unless people want to get real about it, there's nothing you can do. Look, we're approaching 2 hours. I wanted to wrap this up at an hour and 15 minutes, and there were a few more questions. Any last questions? Let's wrap it up. I have a family Easter to go to later after lunch. Deep Diver says, exactly. I said high value man because you mentioned a high value might just bang a woman but won't pursue her seriously. Yeah. High value today is just like a structural animal. You know, biology, species, politics, it's all. People are trying to work out their personal problems with cold, impersonal tools. Good luck. Tube the Noob. Does a man have value without discipline? I doubt it. Especially without philosophical rigor. Because really, like even practically, if you're going to say, okay, I'm going to get healthier, I'm going to think better, I'm going to start a business, it starts with the mind. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Have a good Sunday. No one told me, or I didn't see anyone tell me whether the microphone was okay. So I'll listen back to it after the stream and I'll judge whether or not I want to use it again. Yeah, Deep Diver said, how can men be direct when they can hardly communicate? Good question. That's why I encourage men to communicate. And I only tend to have conversations. The people I've met through my channel, the ones I have discussions with on my chat channel, they're men that I've organically gotten to know, and I can see they've introspected. They want to have conversations. They're having, you know, they're dancing with their thoughts and words, and they find it interesting. They're working their problems out. They're not just spitting out memes. So any last questions, guys? If you're here, 3 yellow emojis. Otherwise, let's wrap it up in about 30 seconds. I have a Sunday to enjoy before I go to work tomorrow, as I'm sure you guys have a weekend to enjoy. That's right. Tom says Melbourne now is raining. Yeah, it's overcast and there's sporadic raining. Shadow Ghost, thank you very much for the super chat donation. I really appreciate it, man. If you've got a comment, don't be afraid to leave it, especially with your super chat. You've earned it. Okay, Rayleigh says the microphone seems fine to them. So what do? We live with our dogs and cut wood, and we pay prostitutes once in a while. Oh, this is if we go live in the woods. Well, apparently you have to be realistic. Like If you want to enjoy things you previously enjoyed in the big city, you want to take them back to the woods, you have to compromise in the way that which you do them. They might not be as readily available. You might need to sort of do them in a different way. You might need to completely let go of them. They're not doable anymore. It's too much work, or you just can't do them. Everyone's a bigot says, the mic is awesome. You could use it for ASMR. I hope not. The one thing I do like is a good mic, but I don't want you to hear every little spit in my voice and all the crackle and imperfections. I can't stand that. I don't want you to hear me chewing my food when I'm talking. Heiko Dachi, thank you for the super chat. Hey mate, another great timely chat. Thanks. Cool. Even if you want to super chat and say thanks, at least if my blabbing gave you something and there wasn't a question you wanted to ask, at least if I kind of maybe gave you something to think about, or I answered questions that you never even thought of, I appreciate the super chats and the donations. Feel free to join the channel, give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. I don't care. And if any of you want to chat after this, if you've got a microphone, log on to my Gilded server. A few of us jump on there. I jump on when I've got a moment. It's not as popular as Discord. I get it. But I might even organize a time in the future. Just organize a time to get people to jump on as a chat. Like I do organize my live streams. So there's a time where everyone can go when they want to have a conversation. Brian, yeah. Being direct seems trustworthy and competent in all areas of life. You have to be able to back it up with action. It will get you farther in everything. Yes. Words without action are nothing. When I was thinking about topics for today off the back of this video that I encourage people to go and watch, some of the thoughts I had is if it's only words, then it's not a priority, guys. If all of your chest beating, if it's all words and intellect and manosphere content and channels, and you never practice it, if you split your personality from I feel more real and centered and me online, but in public, in front of women, in front of my family, in front of mum, I switch and I'm just this person because I don't live there really. I tolerate them, but I feel more alive here. Then it's only words. This is only words unless we can translate it to real life. That's the empirical experience by which you know it's true. Words without action are just words. They're just theory. They could be the answer. They could be right. But if they're never practical, they're not right. If I practice them, but you don't, I get to feel and see the results of that correct theory, but you don't. Do you see? So it could be right, but the person who acts upon the rhetoric that we say, we're on a podcast and we're like, yeah, we discovered this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to be. I go out there and try it, and I try and use my words, and I insist upon it on dates and with people, and I make choices out in the world, but you don't. It is still right, but my life becomes better, and it's much more real for me, even though it's objectively sensible or real for you. So I hate to use the word, it doesn't become my truth. It becomes reality for me. The truth becomes meaningful because it's practiced. Remember, your ethics, as I think Aristotle mentioned, ethics are nothing unless you practice them. Ethics are nothing unless you practice them. So you can be very clever, but if you don't test your cleverness, it doesn't really mean much. I've talked to a lot of very smart people, more articulate, more intelligent, higher IQ people than me that are really afraid. And people who are less afraid, even if their IQ is lower, will always have a better life, and they will always, quote unquote, win in what they want to do and how they want to live. So I've met people with IQs far above mine, and I admire their IQ and their ability to think and speak and solve problems and articulate. But I will always get more out of life than them because they have a higher degree of resistance and fear and avoidance. And they use their higher intellect to avoid things. So make of that what you will. Have a good weekend, guys. It's a pleasure to show up for the stream again. As it is, grateful for you guys who super chatted and showed up. I'll see you on next week's stream, and hopefully I'll drop another video this week, but I'm taking longer to make videos because I really want to make more entertaining videos on each subject that you will watch all the way through, and that more new people that are taken in by the way I edit and visualize them and make them more entertaining as a way of then to be open to these ideas. I don't want to just preach to the choir. I want to get this conversation out to the everyday person. I want to be fair and have this conversation amongst not just the manosphere pocket that already agree with what I'm saying. We already know kind of what's true. We sense it. We're talking about it. Let's get more. You're not going to solve problems in the real world without getting more people from the real world involved in your discussions. Whether or not they resist it is another thing, but I need to meet them halfway if I'm going to try and relate my fair thoughts, or at least try to come to the table. We've got to meet each other halfway. And I'm trying to meet people halfway in, the audience halfway with the way I do my videos. I'm still going to talk about the things I want to talk about, but I have to meet them halfway to get them in to listen to what I'm saying, and hopefully to sort of soften their armor to be able to say, you know what, you guys have a point. I haven't seen someone say it like you, but it took you presenting it in this way to give you a chance, and I stayed longer the more I was entertained, and then I started to appreciate what you had to say. Anyway, especially with this talking head at the moment, this talking head will deter people with his sigh. The rebuttal will be, why should we listen to human? Look at the way he looks. If that's what success looks like, I don't want it. Anyway, have a good weekend, everyone. Yeah, this is actually a funny one before I go. Sincerity. If you can fake that, you've got it made, Johnny Bravo. That's actually a funny reverse quote that says a lot. Fake sincerity. You'll do a lot better than faking confidence or faking presenting yourself to other people in the right way so you'll get validated by strangers. Anyway, thanks for showing up. Have a good weekend. I'll catch you in the next video. Be well. Have a good weekend. Bye, guys.